Hey there, Knicks fans. You know what? I feel the need for speed. And the Knicks apparently felt the need for speed too. They flew into Cleveland on their F-14. Does that sound right? Yeah, sure. Let's go with F-14. And took care of business against an undermanned Cavs team to make it indeed a happy Halloween for everybody out there watching. I trust. Shout out to any Cavs fans who may be watching this. And a happy night for themselves. They get back to 2-2, and they don't have to worry, at least not tonight, to going down to the ladies' room for the alternates plaque. They can stay up on the top floor, and they come away with a victory, much needed victory. And I say that with a little extra emphasis, a much needed victory. This has been. I'm going to ask Andrew, can I take my costume off now? My detailed costume that includes sunglasses and a jacket. Oh my God. Andrew Claudio is dressed up as Mike Myers. I was dressed up as Maverick, for anybody wondering, listening on the pod tomorrow. Andrew, you make for a good Mike Myers. All right, Jesus Christ. Okay, enough of this. I'm going back to the monologue. I say a needed win with all the realization that, yes, it is still week 1 of the NBA season. Right? Yeah, it is week 1 because today's Monday. The season started on a Tuesday. Is today Monday? No. Today what day is today? Today's Tuesday. I have my wife here to tell me what day it is. That's where things are. Whatever. The season's about a week old. And I can't say that there's been, for me, a ton of there hasn't been a ton of good vibes, but just I still don't feel like I'm watching the Knicks team that I expected to watch this season, and that includes tonight. I think if you were looking at this game from a non-Knicks perspective, just from an unbiased view, you would say this was an undermanned Cavs team missing 2 of its top 4 players. You could say 3 of their top 6 players because Karis LeVert was also out. That was just undermanned and picked a bad night for the shooters that they had out there on the floor to have really, really bad shooting nights. Donovan Mitchell obviously put the team on his back in the first half. Couldn't do enough to bring it all the way home. I think that is the story of the game, quote unquote. That being said, and for as much as the Knicks had some stretches during that game where they left a bit to be desired, it was a sloppy game at times. There was a stretch in the third quarter where there was some early turnovers. We had the 2 maddening turnovers at the start of the fourth quarter that prompted Thibs to call a quick timeout and reinsert Jalen Brunson into the game to, restore some order. They felt a little off on offense. They felt a little off. Defensively, I thought they were good. Did the Cavs miss some shots? Absolutely, the Cavs missed some shots. But in the NBA today, if you have a guy like Donovan Mitchell on your team and you have some of the shooters that they have, Niang, Strus, you have a guy like Evan Mobley still coming into his own on offense. I get it, but still, solid player. If you can hold a team on their own home floor to 91 points, you're doing something right on defense, even with the fact that they were not shooting well from 3. So from that perspective, we now have 2 back-to-back good, solid defensive efforts from the Knicks, which I think if you were going into the season and you're going to say, are you worried more about defense? You worried more about the offense? We would all said we were more worried about the offense. So from that perspective, encouraging to see a good defensive performance. And they did what they needed to do, which at the end of the day is all that matters. I felt that this game had a chance to get very interesting in the start of the fourth quarter when, again, those 2 turnovers, lead got down to 12. And then Emmanuel Quickly, who did not have his best game by any stretch of the imagination, hit back-to-back threes, got the lead back up to 18. And then I think less than a minute later, Josh Hart hit the dagger, put them up 21, and that was pretty much that. Here's the really odd part for me about this game. Won by a lot against a good but injured team on the road. talked about how it didn't leave me feeling great. And at the same time, I look up and down the box score, and I'm like, I think everybody had a pretty good game. Like, there's no one that certainly no one I'm going to call out for having a bad game. And I think even with that said, there are a couple of people that deserve a little bit of an extra shout out, and they both happen to play center. Maybe it's because I wrote a newsletter on Mitchell Robinson today, coming off of his 10 offensive rebound performance against the New Orleans Pelicans on Saturday night. Maybe it's just because I have a soft spot for Mitch. Like, I feel like obviously you can't be a fan of a team anymore without having a particular guy that you stand for. And, everybody, who's in the RJ camp and who's in the Quickly camp. And, there are the people that are on Randle Island and refuse to let anybody say anything bad about him. And, Grimes has his supporters, and obviously everybody will love Jalen Brunson. I do kind of feel like we've gotten to the point where Mitchell Robinson just kind of like, not that he's an afterthought. I mean, we've talked about this concept before, that like we kind of take what he does for granted, but I still think the case remains. We do kind of take what he does for granted. Just another game where he went out there and he only played 22 minutes because he really only had to play 22 minutes tonight. They said it on the broadcast, like, Evan Mobley, I don't know if he sees Mitchell Robinson in his nightmares. I don't know if he has waking nightmares where his eyes are open and he's seeing Mitchell Robinson, come at him and just make his life a living hell. But I think it's when Mitchell Robinson sees this team, he's dominant. But he's been dominant this entire early stretch of the season. I think he's been, on the whole, the Knicks' best player. And yet, I'm not even sure he was their best center tonight because Isaiah Hartenstein, not to be outdone, played 23 minutes. Again, moderate stat line, 13 points, 7 rebounds, 5 of 10 from the field. Hartenstein is near the top of the list in terms of the like, you had to watch the game, like, guys on this team to know and feel their impact. And there's one play that stands out in particular. It was towards the beginning of the fourth quarter, 9 minutes left in the game, where it looked like the Cavs were starting to gain momentum after those silly turnovers. And Isaiah Hartenstein just had a block, I think it was of Evan Mobley at the rim. And that's just one example. Like, the shots he was hitting in the second half, like all of the shots that he hit in the second half felt pretty important in the moment. The fact that that he can give them a little something on offense is meaningful. There really seems to be just so little drop off in terms of his defense versus Mitch. I mean, Mitch is a special defender, but Hartenstein does a lot of things great too. And really can't say enough about both Knicks centers throughout the first 4 games of the season. And I thought this was collectively their best game tonight. From there, we could really go anywhere. It kind of will get forgotten because the Knicks pulled away in the second half, and I don't even know. He scored in the second half. I don't know how many points he scored, but RJ Barrett was massively important to that game. Ended up hitting 3 of 5 from 3. I feel like all 3 of those were in the first half. He was yet again probably their most important player in the first half of this game. Certainly changed a little bit, and that wasn't even his fault. It's because they kind of went away from him in the third quarter and I'll get to the third quarter in a bit, but hitting open shots, making smart plays, doing all the things that we need him to do. Another positive step in the right direction for RJ Barrett. So solid game from him. I mentioned quickly hitting those big threes there in the fourth quarter, which thank God he hit them. Ended up with 18 points on 11 shots. So maybe I spoke too soon saying that it wasn't Quickly's best game. 18 points on 11 shots. Hard to complain about that. I just, my feel from watching the game for him going along was that it was not his best. Then again, that's probably an indication that I'm just spoiled by Emmanuel Quickly because he's so freaking good. So what the hell do I know? DiVincenzo's still kind of finding his way. 6 assists. That's nice. Thought he had an important steal too. I think it was in the fourth quarter. Again, just when they were trying to put the game away. All those plays matter. A little extra. And let's finish up with Brunson and Randle, who are Knicks' 2 best players. And through 3 games coming into tonight, really underwhelming in different ways. Jalen Brunson not only not looking great from 2-point range, but just I haven't loved his balance between shooting, distributing, looking to distribute when he maybe shouldn't, not looking to distribute when he should. Just kind of, there was kind of like an uncertainty, like shots that he was taking, like not that he can't make those shots, but I'm like, something feels a little off about him taking that particular shot in that instance. And sure enough, I think he was shooting like, I don't know, around 30% from 2 heading into this game. Well, tonight, 7 of 16 overall, but 6 of 13 from 2. Not great. To get to the line 5 times, made 4 or 5. Only had 2 assists, 2 steals. There were some moments though where, and particularly, I know he started the game hot, but I thought in the third quarter he had some moments where it's like, okay, starting to get it going. Still calling his number a little bit too much? Yeah, I think so. And I think that's fair to say. But I thought on the whole tonight, even with, I think, 5 turnovers, positive step, barely in the right direction. I like some of the stuff that we saw from Brunson tonight. And then last but not least is Randle. The madness of Julius Randle. Julius Randle had a good game tonight. Start by saying that. He had 19 points, 10 rebounds, a couple assists. Only 5 of 14 from the field, but you want to talk about exerting your will on an undermatched team. Got to the line 10 times, made 7. Just barely okay. Would like 8 or 9 would be nice. We'll take 7. But he was getting to the line in a way that his process as he was, powering down low, I liked the process. And as I've spoken about a lot, there are times where I think he makes not too much of an effort, but, goes down low without what I would call a really great plan. And I think that you see that sometimes. And sure enough, Fred had the stat exactly the other day. He was, after 3 games, he was something like 1 for, I don't know, 12 or 13, whatever, in the restricted area on the season. Some absurd number. Well, that number went up a little bit tonight. And again, even more so than Brunson, when Julius Randle got it going in that third quarter, felt really important for this team because, again, love him or hate him, this team is not going anywhere this season without Julius Randle being some version of what he was last year. So important for Julius. Look, did it come against the team that when he sees them, it's like the lights of his eyes, brighten up. Yes, it's fine. At this point, I just get him going. Just have him see the ball go in the basket, have him get into his wheelhouse, do things on his terms. That's what it felt like he was doing in the third quarter tonight. That's about it. I don't really have much else to say about this game. I don't know if people are going to be like, we have Cleveland's number or anything like that. I don't think that's the case. I wouldn't. Oh my God. Mike Myers is back. You forgot one name. Okay. Who did I forget? He's going to write it down again. Josh Hart? Oh, yeah. Mike Myers / Andrew Claudio GMAC is holding up the name of Dean Wade. How could I forget the name Dean Wade? It's a bad job by me. Dean Wade. Wow, this is quite a stat line here. 0 of 4 from 3, 0 of 5 from the field. Finished with an unfortunate 0 points, and Andrew's now holding up a sign that says Knicks in 5. Well done, GMAC. What would be lovely? What would be lovely is if the Knicks could go into Garden tomorrow night and get another win. I would really like that. My guess, and I think Breen indicated this towards the end of the broadcast. My guess is that I don't know who's going to play. My guess is Garland plays. I don't know if Allen plays. Quite frankly, I don't know if it matters that Jared Allen plays. I fear this team a little bit more without Allen. which is maybe famous last words because Allen's still a damn good player. But for the Knicks matchup in particular, like the scariest version of the Cavs probably for me is the one certainly with Strus on the floor, and obviously he's a starter. But like, and LeVert might play also. Like just another shooter in that fourth spot, and then Evan Mobley in the 5 spot. I know he gets eaten up on the glass, but so does Allen. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Point is, Knicks got to 2-2. They needed to get to 2-2. If they lost this game with who Cleveland had out, and then had to head back to MSG on a back-to-back tomorrow, no bueno. Would not have liked that. So got the win. Again, y'all know what's coming. I'm going to say it once, and then I'll move on. Get to 10 games at 5-5. Don't care how it happens. Truly. Do not care how it happens. And we are 2/5 of the way there. Okay, let us go to whatever anybody wants to talk about. We start things off with Nick DeSimone. Hi, Nick. I don't have Fred Katz. Venmo. I don't know Fred Katz. Venmo. Please forward this to him. Compliments of Dean Wade. Oh, you don't know Fred Katz? Venmo. Please forward this to him. Compliments of Dean Wade. Got it eventually. Let's fucking go. Knicks, happy Halloween to the Macri kiddos. The Macri kiddos were very happy tonight. Did some nice trick-or-treating in the Cobble Hill area. And also gave out some candy. But I commandeered my younger daughter's trick-or-treat basket, which I have here. So I may be housing a little bit of candy as we go through the live stream tonight, starting with this delightful Extreme Sour Warhead, because a 2-year-old can't have an Extreme Sour Warhead anyway. Thanks, Nick. I will make sure I get that generous contribution to Fred Katz. Andrew P. Got to revert back to 2020 defense first. I did like tonight. The defense was solid. I think the Cavs got some good looks at the rim. Or sorry, got some good looks from 3, not at the rim. And like Donovan Mitchell put on a personal show there in the second quarter, especially had a couple moments in the third. And you still held that team to a really, 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 really really respectable number. Oh, defense first identity. I got it. You know, I'm always slow on the uptick, Andrew. The thing with the difference for me between this year and 2020, I'll never be fully convinced that this team has the personnel to be a top 10 defense. I think they can be close, maybe outskirts of the top 10. It's tough with the guys they have that they just have. I mean, it starts with Brunson. He's just such a, he's not a good defender. And I think teams are going to continue to try to exploit that more and more. Doesn't mean they can't overcome it, but it just means like big defensive performances across the board from everybody else. And, we don't always get that from your Julius Randles of the world. And, RJ has looked better on defense this year. Last year was not great. So hopefully, RJ's kind of back and everybody else needs to do their part. Thanks, Andrew. That is sour. Robert Cross. It's your boy, John. Can you wax poetic on Money Mitch for 10 minutes? I think I already did. I'd hate to see it interrupt your love note to Bowser, though. Hashtag 53 wins. Robert, I love you. And I love Mitch. I've always loved Mitch. I've always been a Mitch supporter. I have questioned at times whether a team that does not have another option at the center position that offers not even a little bit more, a lot more offensive versatility. I love Hartenstein too, but that's the only thing with Mitch, because again, what he's good at, he's great at. Offensive rebounding, like pick and roll defense, rim protection, just has amazing hands, like all the things that you want in that archetype of a player. I have at times wish they had an alternate to that archetype that they could put in and not kind of go completely away from what Thibs wants to do. That said, like, it's no disrespect to Mitch, or it's no love lost going Mitch's way if I look at a guy who is, one of the 5 or 6 or 7 best players in the league, and I say, you know what, might be nice to have that guy. But I know you know that, so it's fair. Rob DeLusmo, what's going on, man? Sup, KFS fam? First chat of the season. Well, thank you. Can't front. Very impressed with RJ so far. Much love to UJM, our man Andrew, and Ben. Shout out to Ben and DJ Zulo. They killed it last night on the X's and O's live stream. I always learn so much, and more than that, I just love hearing those two guys talk about basketball. That's why I was just throwing questions in the chat just to get them rolling. I don't even care where they go with it. Yeah, it's hard not to be impressed with RJ so far. I mean, it's shooting's there, passing's there, good decision making. I thought in this game, the only thing I would say is when he was in the game, when it was him and Quickly, so no Brunson, no Randle. I'm not sure if it was end of the third or beginning of the fourth. A couple of possessions where it looked like he was forcing it a little bit, but I honestly don't even mind it because he had good matchups in those instances. He just, I don't know, his process there, I didn't love it in terms of how he attacked those couple of instances. But he's been awesome. He's been awesome. All the crow in the world. Please serve it up on a silver platter. Happy to eat every ounce of it. Mike Myers could even cut it up. Jesse M. What's going on, Jesse? Kit Kats are a mid candy. Reese's Cups are GOAT tier. Let me take a sip of my beverage to process that. So, from what I understand from people who like peanut butter, Reese's Cups are GOAT tier candy. I don't like peanut butter. It's a weird thing. I understand that there are some people that will hear that and like unsubscribe to everything and never listen to a word I say again. That's fine. I respect it. I'd probably feel the same way if you said like you don't like pizza. But it's not my thing. I just don't like the taste of it. So I can't really comment on the Reese's Cups. I think Kit Kats are fine. I think they're probably no better or worse than pretty much any other like candy bar type thing you could buy in a bodega. In terms of like widely available candy, let me look in here, see if I get inspired to point anything out. Somebody gave some Nutter Butter cookies. That's an interesting choice. I like gummy bears. I'm a big gummy bear guy. If you give me one, here we go. See, this is where it's at. Got some Black Forest organic gummy bears. Totally fine with that. Haribo is kind of the way I'd go over the Black Forest, but that's fine. Oh, we got some Hershey Special Dark. I'm going to take that out. But yeah, my personal favorite snack, great for a movie theater, great for home on a Tuesday night. Popcorn and gummy bears. You will not find a more delightful combination. As Andrew puts up the next chat, as his gentle reminder, this is a basketball podcast. Tom the Dentist. What's up? Before I say anything negative, I'm very happy my routine of Knicks KFS fantasy football is back. Now, is it fair and reasonable to say that Brunson is less fun right now? Yeah. That's fine. Something's off. And I'm not gonna kill him or anything, or I'm not gonna like be like, oh, we gotta move on from Jalen Brunson or anything like that. But it is a reminder, and we say this about Julius Randle all the time, right? When Julius Randle is not at peak or near peak efficiency, like, is he a guy that you really love having on your team? Because, like, what else does he add? What else does he take away? Brunson's a different sort of guy, and, like, he goes about his business very differently, and I don't think I need to speak anything more on that because it should be obvious. But when his offense isn't like when he's not crossing his T's and dotting his I's and he's not on his P's and Q's, to use all my letter analogies, it does leave you feeling a little empty because, like, yeah, he'll still, draw the occasional offensive foul from the other team, and like if he's not hitting a shot on the inside, he's and this credit to him, he's improved this part of his game vastly. Could still knock down a shot from three. He doesn't. I know some people will disagree with this. I don't think that he will like commandeer possessions when it is very clear that he should not be. I feel like there's a pretty good balance that maybe doesn't look as good because of the position he plays. And granted, if you're a point guard, you should have that balance perfect. Like when you don't got it, like figure out ways to get others involved. The point is, last year we didn't even really need to consider what is Jalen Brunson when he's not magnificent offensively, because he was magnificent offensively, like, I don't know, 85%, 90% of the time. And that hasn't really been the case. He had the big 3-point barrage against Atlanta, and then other than that, it's been like, this isn't great. I'm confident he'll be fine. But it is certainly fair to point out that he is a different sort of player in that sense from others, from your like super duper stars in the league. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate you. Robert Cross with another one. First time, long time, it's your boy John. Is it too early to build my KFS holiday wish list? More usage for Grimes is at the top. Fuck's sake. Hashtag 53 wins. Let's do our nightly Grimes check-in. I want to say he got 5 shots tonight. 4 shots in 22 minutes. 1 of 3 from 3. Yeah, I mean, a lot of mouths to feed. I mean, I don't know what's supposed to change. Jalen Brunson took 16 shots tonight. RJ Barrett took 13 shots tonight. Julius Randle took 14 shots tonight. None of those numbers are absurd. I thought Grimes' looks were good. I would have to go back and rewatch to see if there were any obvious instances where Grimes should have got the ball and didn't. But like I don't know. I thought the Knicks offensive process, it was a little bit too much one-on-one tonight. I'll give you that. But that's how they get into their offense, and then things flow from there. Yeah, I mean, it needs to be a collective effort to get him more looks, get him better looks, and that includes the coach. Obviously, wouldn't hurt to draw up a play every now and then designed to get him the ball. But then, as I say that, I have to remind myself, like, Grimes is always an option on every play, and they don't draw plays where it's like, this is designed to get this person this shot. It's like, we're going to run this play. It's designed to create this advantage. And then based on what the defense does with the advantage that you have hopefully created, that dictates the next play. So it's, it's not really like, that's just their offense. That's what they do. I'd love if he got more shots. Thanks, Robert. Kevin Danishevsky, what's going on, Kev? Good win. Needed that. I agree. Wonder if Isaiah Hartenstein will be asked to finish more, with Dante DiVincenzo struggling to do that. Massive game for him. Good to see Julius get going. IQ was awesome. I'm not going to push back too hard because I'm not going to push back too hard, but I thought I've seen awesome quickly games. I didn't get the sense that this was an awesome quickly game. It was fine. I could be wrong. In terms of if iHeart will be asked to finish more with DiVincenzo struggling to do that. I mean, DiVincenzo, like, you mean struggling around the rim? That's what I'm assuming Kevin means here. And like, but like that, I don't know that one would have anything to do with the other. I just think Hartenstein is a guy who has skill with the ball, like 6, 7, 8 feet out, and he should use that. And I'm really happy to see him using it. DiVincenzo just needs to like hit his shots around the rim, which is something he's always kind of struggled with. Thanks, Kev. Anthony Sixto. Considering the offseason variables and tough schedule, none of the blemishes strike me as things that won't get fixed. I completely agree, which is why nobody has seen me come on here and like lose my mind about any of this. They're scuffling. It happens. Not a big deal. If RJ's 3 is real, I'm beyond hyped for their midseason form. Hashtag winless season. Yeah, I think we all trust that they're gonna get rolling at some point, that they're gonna pull it together, that they're gonna the whole will once again be greater than the sum of its parts. I think that's really well said. I don't really have anything to add, Anthony. I think that's a really smart comment, and I wish more people like process this team and their fandom in that way. Like, hey, let's have patience. Patience is a good thing. Well said. Hush Zoo, what's going on, Hush? That felt like a very flat blowout. Okay, Hush. Here's Hush bringing the criticism. I don't know how to describe it, but at some point this team looked terrible all around. A lot of issues still. Game 4, it's game 4, and this strikes me as one of those comments. I'm not saying this is you, Hush. I'm not saying this is you, but I've been trying to just like mainline basketball every night, which is why like it's game 4 and I feel like I'm already exhausted. Because I'm just staying up every night until my eyes can't stay open anymore, watching, flipping around. The amount of teams out there who are like look exactly like the Knicks look, maybe in a different sort of way, but who just look off, and you're like, man, that team's not doing that. That team's not. There's one team that looks fucking awesome right now, and it's Denver. Boston has looked good. They haven't played a whole lot. They haven't played great competition. They beat Washington by 1,000,000 points, which like that great. Who cares? Golden State has looked pretty good, but like, okay, those are the two teams that Golden State's been together longer than anybody. Denver's the reigning champion. Boston is the favorite this year in a lot of people's books. Like, most teams right now look more or less like the Knicks look, which is like some good, some bad. It's a result of like preseason used to be 8 games, 9 games. Now it's 4 games. So the ramp up is just not what it used to be. And, considering the first 4 games, 3 out of 4 on the road, the home game is against maybe the best team in the league. None of the 3 road games were picnics. To come out of this at 2-2, you got to feel okay. Thanks, Hush. Drazov, what's going on, Drazov? Appreciate you always chiming in. Been seeing you a lot. With their improvement in 3-point shooting so far, we'll kindly ignore the New Orleans game. Do you see the percentage being susceptible this season or early season bias? Oh, sustainable this season. Those 2 very different things. Do you see the percentage being sustainable this season or early season bias? Much love to the KFS crew and families as we approach the holidays. Thanks so much. That was really kind. Same to you. Much love to you and your family. So I mentioned how the Cavs didn't shoot very well on 3. I should have obviously mentioned that the Knicks shot pretty well from 3. 38% on 34 attempts. Trying to think. We talked not all preseason. We mentioned a few times since the end of last year that the Knicks 3-point shooting should improve. And we went player by player and we looked at, okay, this guy should be better. That guy should be better. This guy should be a lot better. This guy should be a little bit, like, so on and so forth. So from that perspective, I'm not sure I feel like anybody on the team right now is shooting so far above their head that it is not sustainable. So I'm not worried. I mean, do they beat Atlanta if Brunson doesn't go 8 for 12 from 3? Probably not. Then again, like quickly went 1 of 9 from 3 against Atlanta. So like those two things kind of even out. Tonight I didn't see anything tonight about that was an outlier, on 3. It's like it's always going to be a fear because they still don't have that level of shooter that you really, really, really feel like is like a top level guy. We think Grimes can become that guy. And maybe that's actually a reason for hope that it could get even better if you want to look at it that way. Grimes this early season, he's been okay from 3. I don't think he's been great. I'll try to see if the stats are updated. But yeah, well, I'm gonna go through them right now and we'll test this out because okay, so from 3, Dylan Winder is shooting 50% from 3. That's great. So Brunson's the only guy that's like super hot. He's 46%, and that's again, he was 8 for 12 against the Hawks. RJ's at 43%. I mean that's gonna come down a little bit, right? We know that's gonna come down a little bit. After that, Hart 36%, Quickly 36%, Grimes 35%, Randle 32%. That should go up. That will go up. DiVincenzo 31%. That's going to go up. So I think we'll be all right. I think we'll be okay. Good question. That was good. Hey, Pastor Claudio, the birthday boy. What's going on, my man? Who is that guy with the mask and the knife? Can he come back? Oh, here he is again. Hello, Pastor. Is that a real kitchen knife? Jesus Christ, you better be careful with that. There was a Mike Myers, someone dressed as Mike Myers. My youngest daughter, saw like all kinds of costumes, a lot of masks. The Mike Myers was one of like 2 that actually scared her. So it still works. Thanks, Pastor. Sam L. Galvanizing win. I love that word. I hope it's a galvanizing win. A lot of great ball movement and shot making. Okay, different perspective. I saw some people in the Substack chat saying a little too much one-on-one ball. I think, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? If we hold the Knicks to their usual standard, you could watch tonight's game and be like, yeah, I thought they moved the ball pretty well. If you hold them by a standard of like most teams, you say, it's a little bit ISO heavy. But I thought it was fine. So I'm kind of in agreement with you, Sam. Saw a beautiful Julius to RJ pass that led to a sweet 3. Go Knicks. Side note, is Fred's Dean Wade take the coldest take in KFS history? Ooh, that's a good question. That's a good question. The coldest? No. I mean, I've had way colder takes. They're from like back in the day before I had this sort of platform. Man, coldest KFS takes ever. Andrew's a good historian with shit like that. I don't know if he's gonna unmask himself and maybe chime in at some point this episode, but I'd love for him to do some digging.
What's up?
Coldest KFS takes ever. Is Fred's Wade take like the worst take anyone has ever had on like these airwaves?
Ooh. You know what? This is where I'm going to depend on some people that listen more intently than I do. And maybe they can go back in time and find some of the coldest takes. Like I know some of the things we've gotten wrong in the past, but
sure.
But not like the coldest. And like okay. Can we have an honest conversation about the take? How bad was RJ last year?
Yeah, no. And
he made Fred, it before those 8 games had happened.
And Fred also said as he was saying the take, he in like the same breath, essentially, he's like, yeah, I realize it's kind of ridiculous, but my larger point is that the outline of Dean Wade has a potential to make a bigger impact on this series than the outline of RJ Barrett based on what we've just seen. So like he was kind of, not that he's doing it tongue in cheek. He said what he said. I said what I said. But yeah.
Where'd this come from?
Listen, anyway. I once sent out I tweeted, I'm fairly certain that like I thought Frank Ntilikina could, grow into becoming a Scottie Pippen level player. So who the fuck am I to ever say anything about anybody else's thing?
There you go.
There you go. Stevens Guillaume. Still got some things to clean. I'll take the W nonetheless. Stevens, you're always short and sweet, but you usually hit the nail on the head. I agree. Sorry. As Thibs says, you win or you learn. It's great when you could win and learn, at the same time. Thanks, Stevens. Dan Hidalgo. What's going on, Dan? How are you? Musings from a Knicks fan in Cleveland who got to watch live. Oh, I can't wait to hear this. Felt like a good get-right game against a team we matched up well against. Also, Thibs looks svelte. I'm really going to see Thibs in person. I guess he's doing some kind of weight loss thing. I don't know. You could probably define it as a get-right game. I'll be curious to see who Cleveland has tomorrow. I'm happy they'll have a day off heading into Milwaukee. That'll be good. And then after that, back home for what might be James Harden's Clipper debut. That should be interesting. That'll be that, as you guys obviously know, because I do these post games from the comfort of my house. It's been a long time since there's been a game where I really, really had a burning desire to be at the game in person. There is something about that game that I would not mind seeing in person. If indeed Harden plays and all of them play, I think it'd be a fun game. The debut of the Clippers. I was going to say there are 4 top 75 players, but Paul George wasn't named a top 75 player. Might be a top 100 player. Hushu. Also, iHeart is pivotal, and we need to extend him ASAP. I don't think you're getting that extension. First of all, I'm not even sure if they can extend him right now. I have to go look at the rules. One area of the CBA that I'm extraordinarily not good enough on is extension rules. When certain guys can extend, whether it's into the season or it has to be before the season. And then I know they don't have full bird rights on Hartenstein. That I know. So it limits to the sort of extension they could offer him. But then again, how much of a raise are they really going to give the guy? Which is, I think, for just all sorts of reasons, that's a classic, take it into the offseason. Knicks got a lot of balls in the air. For all we know, they could be trading for a center of some renown, at some point in the offseason. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Thanks, Hush. Hamdy M. What's going on, Hamdy? How are you? 2 O's in Goose, boys. That was good. Yes, a needed win. Totally agree. We are not there, but to be honest, Mitch continues to do the little things. All I want to do is praise Mitchell Robinson. I'm so happy for that dude. I'm so freaking happy for that dude. And maybe it's because we just had that Scott Perry interview in which he talked about Mitchell Robinson being his proudest success story. I can't. It was like yesterday listening to post-draft podcasts, which were could there be a worse fit? A guy like Mitchell Robinson, skip college, the whole thing, needs a loving, nurturing, positive developmental organization and environment. And he went to the shithole Knicks, it's not going to go well. Nobody thought it was going to go well. And here he is, 6 years later into his career. And he is just a center that absolutely makes you really happy that he's your center every night. So it's just pretty cool. Thanks, Hamdy. Juno, what's going on, my man? It's very odd to win win on a night where the team has more turnovers than steals and blocks, but a win is a win. I feel bad for Donovan Mitchell. No way he isn't looking at Brunson with envy. Man, I still think Cleveland's gonna be good this year. Again, they've been hurt. I don't know. I mean, I wonder how much Mitchell really minds being a big fish in a small pond. That may sound nuts, but he got to live very free of criticism in Utah. And he gets to live very free of criticism in Cleveland. Now, Granted, there's not all that much criticism to give because the guy, I mean, the dude was whatever he was, 6th in MVP voting last year and, almost made first team All NBA. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder how bummed he is. I'm fascinated to see what happens with his career because I know there was a clip floating around. I guess it was from the pregame show where either Wendy or Shelly, or maybe I don't know. It was some clip from earlier today, that I think was from earlier today, in which like the ESPN reporters who know their shit were basically talking about how like Mitchell may not be high on the Knicks wish list, which like doesn't surprise me at all. Like they've come this far. We'll get into the Embiid thing at some point because I know with the Harden trade today, you could argue that it makes it less likely Embiid ever becomes a reality. I don't know that I agree wholeheartedly with that, or just agree with that at all. Putting that aside, though, like they've come this far, and I don't know, something about the notion of them going all in on Donovan or whatever would amount to all in, whatever you need to do to get him. Something about it doesn't pass the smell test for me. I could be dead wrong. I could be dead wrong. They could trade for him, the night of the draft, and it wouldn't shock me. But just if I'm sitting here today, if you're asking me like what my gut feeling is, so like what happens? Does he want to go to? Does he try to go to Brooklyn? Does he try to go to Miami? I think it'd be a really nice fit in Miami. Does he re-up in Cleveland? Like, who knows? I don't know. I'm surprised. I'm very curious. Ja, so focused. What's going on, Ja? Maybe it's me, but I felt Thibs' rotation decisions throughout were confusing. Of course. Of course, we have to have a confusing Thibodeau rotations. I may need to get Andrew up here for to ask about this. Is this a blind spot for me, or was Thibs making confusing rotation decisions tonight?
Read the rest of the comment.
Can't question the minutes distribution considering back to back, but do we need Josh Hart and RJ minutes?
I don't remember Josh Hart RJ minutes. I got to be honest with you. I remember a couple in the second quarter. They don't. There's like no positive Josh Hart RJ Barrett minutes that exist.
I know neither of them are exactly dead-eye shooters, but like
John, this goes back to the playoffs. The best lineups for the Knicks are when they're alternating with each other. Okay. Now, like, I don't remember a ton of them tonight. I thought actually this was a very well rotated game, if you want to call it that. But
as an aside, we're gonna get Josh Hart RJ minutes every game because RJ pretty clearly through the first 4 games has established himself as someone who was separated.
The back of when he plays with the bench. If that's what you're referring to, John, then I just disagree because I thought you're talking about like when he's with Randle, but when they have a shooter on the floor, whether it be DiVincenzo or Quickly or Grimes or Brunson, like it's fine. And so the answer to your question, Ja, I'm pretty sure it is you. It's not Maybelline. It's just you.
Look, anytime you have a lineup on the floor and there's a play and the play happens and a bad thing occurs from the play, it's fair to wonder if the bad thing that occurred from the play would not have occurred if there was someone else on the floor. It's like, but like, I feel like there are gradients to it. And I don't know. My 2 cents, nothing I saw tonight was like, wow, this is an odd lineup.
There was one moment where I was like, come on, Thibs. And he corrected it a minute later, and it was take the starters out.
Oh, yeah. But yes,
same thing. It was 1 minute later. He was like, oh, they took the starters out first. He looked up and was like, all right, this is over. And then decided to get Deuce McBride in. There, you got one for today. Happy Halloween.
Your Thibs impressions are fantastic. Thanks, Ja. Brian Benjamin, what's going on, Brian? It feels like the Knicks turned the switch on as opposed to having it on all the time. That's interesting. Should we be worried about that kind of mindset? I love the show. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't. That's a great question. Are they just not easing into the? That's not the right word or term. I was going to say, are they not easing into the season? Is it just that they're like, again, not a lot of preseason games. Can it just be like they're working out the kinks? Like, I'm trying to think. It's weird because the sample size is so small that the New Orleans game represents 25% of all of the games that they have played. So it's like, let's throw out the New Orleans game. Well, it's a big part of what they've done so far. In 3 weeks, maybe we'll be more comfortable like throwing out the New Orleans game. But let's, for argument's sake, take out the New Orleans game. I didn't feel like I watched anything tonight that was like a team that like wasn't flipping the switch. I thought they were clunky on offense. I don't know if they were. There was anything that would indicate to me that, and defensively, I thought the defense was really good. You could even argue the defense was good in New Orleans. Like, Zion was just amazing. Yeah. So I don't know. Obviously it made me think, but I don't know that I agree with you on that. And more generally, for as much as Thibs has legitimate reasons to give you agita about this and that, one of his teams being a team that thinks that they could just turn it on and off, I don't think that should be a concern for a Thibs team. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that, man. And thank you for the kind words as well. True story, Jay. What's going on, True Story, Jay? How are you? They're really freezing out RJ in the second half, LOL. Plus TNT talking about missing players like we didn't beat their ass last year. The New York hate is real. I'll push back against both of those comments. I thought, again, I'm a Knicks fan. I don't know how else to say it. And I thought from a unbiased perspective, the leading story of the game was Cleveland was missing a bunch of guys. So if I tuned into the MSG broadcast, so I don't really know what TNT said. But if that's what they were saying, I'm. And again, it was a game where, like, look at all the comments here tonight that are from Knicks fans who are all kind of saying different versions of like, yeah, it wasn't the best effort. So if the national broadcast was focused more on what Cleveland was missing rather than the Knicks being amazing, because they weren't really amazing, I'm fine with that. As far as the freezing out RJ, that terminology indicates a sense of purpose, whether on behalf of the coach or on behalf of, Jalen Brunson or Julius Randle. And I just like, it's not like RJ was having this sort of half where it's like, oh my God, just like get the ball to RJ. And even if he was like, just because something goes well in one half doesn't mean you necessarily have to go back to that well repeatedly in the second half. Could they have gotten him another shot or two? Absolutely. But sometimes possessions don't work out that way. Like freezing out, there's such an implication there, and it's like unnecessary because you know what happened in the third quarter? Julius Randle got himself going, which is really freaking important to this team. And I thought Jalen Brunson got himself going a little bit too. So, yeah. Thanks, True Story, Jay. Disagree with you, but appreciate the comment. Hamdi M. On the TNT halftime, Barkley said the Knicks need Cat. I think I may have seen a clip of this. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he said the Knicks need a star. Like, this group of tryhards is going to kind of reach its limit. Man, maybe it's like every time I watch Cat, I feel like I come away being like, how is this guy ever going to win on the highest level? Like, I was watching the game last night, Hawks Wolves. For anybody who missed it, which I'm assuming most people listening to this did, the Wolves were up by 20, or they were up by 21, I think, actually, in the first half. They were up by 19 at halftime. And it was basically the same, a repeat of the Knicks-Hawks game from early last season, where the Knicks had a 20-point lead and then ended up losing by 20 or going down by 20, whatever it was, largely behind DeJounte Murray. But I was watching the game and, like, I don't know, just I feel like whenever I watch Cat, he leaves me feeling underwhelmed, and which is hard for me to say because I am not as big of a stats guy as others, but I know the numbers, and the numbers are I mean, some of the numbers are astonishing. His offensive numbers, and it's like, yeah, you could say like they're just numbers. They're really good freaking numbers. So I don't know. I'm not a cat guy. I think putting that aside, though, I think Barkley's larger point was that the Knicks need a star. And
do you want to watch what Barkley said? I have the clip.
Oh, I mean, sure, if you want to.
Let's see if this
players
works.
at times and scorers. So now you lack scoring when you're the Knicks.
And I disagree.
You don't think so?
I think the Knicks need to do something.
Okay, well, that's a different story.
Okay, I mean,
I'm talking about with the present
Yeah,
team.
like, to me, they're like, you see how this move is going to end. They're going to get, maybe if they get a good, to me, the Cavaliers got a higher ceiling. With the additions they made, if they could ever get healthy, I think they got more talent and they're better. But for me, the Knicks, like, yeah, we play hard, we're solid, but they're not contenders. So if I'm them, I'm like, hey, we got to do something. All those draft picks we got, what are we saving them for? You know, go out and make a move, because you got to say to yourself, we're not in a conversation with Boston and Milwaukee.
Who do you need? Who would you have your eye on?
Karl Anthony Towns, because those two guys in Minnesota can't play together. I mean, that was one of the stupidest trades ever. You go get two guys over 7 feet tall and a little man.
I think we got the gist.
I think we got the, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't pull it out of his ass, but like, no, so his point, which is that the Knicks have a bunch of assets and they should use those assets on a star. My response, of course, would be no shit. It's what I've been screaming from the rooftops, and Jeremy's been screaming from, not screaming from the rooftops, but like we've both been saying this for years. It's coming. What?
I think the Knicks are saying this. They just haven't found the right star to go all in.
Well,
on
no, but
yet.
I think it's always funny to me how certain people react to certain things, because you could react to news like we got today about like the Harden trade and be like, and you can say, oh, the Knicks need to stop this ridiculous pursuit of a star, which I understand where that's coming from. But at the same time, I always am like, okay, well, are there things they could have done differently? And perhaps some of the decisions that they've made over the last few years, if they were not in pursuit of this gigantic star trade, they may have made slightly different decisions. Yes. Leon Rose was hired to do this job and build the team in this way, with this as the one singular end goal for the finish line. Because if he wasn't hired to do that, then the only other alternative is Dolan would have hired someone to tank and rebuild the organization that way, and we know Dolan was never going to do that. So, like, all they've done in this like pursuit of a star so far has been bypass opportunities that they did not feel were worth going all in for. That includes this summer when the team came up in relation to whether it was Zach LaVine or the aforementioned Karl Anthony Towns or Bradley Beal, or I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. You know, all they keep doing is bypassing opportunities. Now, you could flip that coin on its head and say, hey, maybe we should go in for one of these opportunities one of these days and stop waiting for the perfect star to come. Well, at some point, I have a feeling they will, because their clock is going to run out, you know, and we're not getting into cap stuff tonight and second apron nonsense, but like at some point, they're going to have to get off the pot. That time has not yet come, and that time's not here yet. So they do have the luxury of waiting. I appreciate what Charles is saying, but the nice thing is they don't have to do that this season. And I hope they don't make a settling trade this season. I don't think they will.
Yeah, I think it's, again, he said the obvious. The Knicks aren't contenders if you look at their talent, but the idea of need is they don't need to do anything right now. Like, they didn't need to make the move the Clippers made today. Yep. It's game 4. So
Jocelyn focus with another one. How many more games before we should be worried about Julius Randle? Tonight was definitely calmed my fears a lot, because I think he looked pretty good. I know what he did tonight, but he still looks off to me, and he doesn't try off the ball for the most part. Well, if you're waiting for him to try off the ball and do stuff off the ball, you'd be waiting a while. That's never going to be a big part of his resume, unfortunately. No, I'm not worried. Tonight, I was maybe a little worried going into this game. I was really encouraged by what I saw. This is now year 5 of the Julius Randle experience in New York. Maybe it's just because I've come to a place where I'm like, he is what he is. I've accepted it. And I'm not. He's not a guy I lose sleep over. I'll just say that. Because eventually, he's going to have good ups and he's going to have downs. Thanks, Joe. Jessica, what's going on, Jess? Caught the second half after getting home from taking my daughter trick-or-treating. Very nice. You were out trick-or-treating late, I guess. Well, although, no, there's time difference, so then maybe not. Yeah. IQ and RJ look amazing. What's the over-under on how soon Harden asks out of the Clippers? LOL. Happy Halloween. Let's go Knicks. Yeah, it's good RJ game, and I guess it was maybe my off perception to start the show. I guess quickly had a better game than I initially perceived. I'm fascinated by the Clippers. I can't wait to watch them. I have them on right now. Of course, there's no James Harden here. And I imagine they're playing with a skeleton squad because they had to trade a lot of players, but they still have some guys. I think it's going to be a fun team. It's going to be a fun team. Will Oliver, win is a win. Nice to steal one away. Go win at home. Man, I'd be really happy if they beat the Cavs at home. Because if they beat the Cavs at home, then you win it. You beat Charlotte, and then you beat San Antonio, and it doesn't matter what happens against Milwaukee, Clippers, or Boston. I get my beloved 5-5. We'll see. I think it's gonna be a really tough game, but we'll see what happens. Thanks, Will. Guy Hooper, then what's going on? Glad for the win, but always a but. Guy Hooper, I challenge you to at one point to put a super chat that does not contain a but that is followed by something negative. But guys like Hart are still slightly concerning to me. That's fair. It's very fair. Also, a little less ISO ball. Bold prediction. IQ will be starting 2 by the end of the year. Okay, let's take those one at a time. Could always use less ISO ball. At the same time, it is how they are most comfortable generating offense, and it is how their 2 best players are most comfortable playing. Here's my hot take. Here's my hot take. I think the reason Brunson's been off is he's trying to ISO less, and he is not trying to go into his bag as much. And in the third quarter, when I felt like he was starting to get it going a little bit, I don't even know how many shots it was. Maybe he only hit like 2 shots for all I know. But there was a moment where I'm like, oh, that's Jalen Brunson again. I felt like he was just like, fuck it. I'm gonna go into my bag and I'm gonna do what I do. Which is a tough thing because he's your point guard, and you want your point guard to be able to toggle a little bit more seamlessly between isolating and creating for others. As far as IQ being the starting 2 by the end of the year, so I guess you're predicting he overtakes Grimes. Huh. I don't think it's insane. I would be surprised. I would be surprised. I think the organization has a lot invested in Grimes. I think they have a lot of belief in Grimes. I think Grimes is going to have a good year. And like, we're sitting here talking about the shots that Quentin Grimes isn't getting. What? I'm not asking this facetiously. I'm literally just asking the question. Like, what about quickly being in the starting lineup makes us think that he would get a ton of shots, whereas Grimes is getting hardly any? Because he could do more with the ball on his own, and he could call his own number more. Yeah, he can. Certainly is, but like, it comes back to the same thing. Like, it doesn't make sense to me to have 4 guys in the starting lineup, all of whom like need and want the ball. If anything, they could use one less guy in the starting lineup that needs / wants the ball all the time. It's like it's a weird distribution. Josso focused. How many are we going to win with 0 players scoring 20? Ooh, great question. That didn't even hit me. So who was their leading scorer tonight? It was Quickly, right? And Quickly had 18. No, Brunson had 19. Sorry. Brunson and Randle both had 19. Quickly had 18. Barrett had 16. That's a good one. You could tell me they're not going to get another one of those the rest of the season, and I wouldn't be shocked. Good stuff. Zach Halilovic. I hope I got that. The discipline Mitch and iHeart show on defense without fouling is beautiful. Make sure it doesn't go unsung. I'm it's not gonna go unsung on here. I love the dirty work that they do, and it gets. And it was really, I should have probably spent more time on it after the Atlanta game, but RJ was the star of the Atlanta game. The way Mitchell Robinson in particular is able to guard 2 men at once when he corrals pick and rolls is it's a masterwork. And Hartenstein, man, I don't know what my favorite thing about Hartenstein's game is. I like all of it. He's a really easy, fun guy to root for. And he does seem, it's so funny. Like Mitch is the guy. He's the athletic one. He's the freak. He's the guy that could do things with your body that you're just not supposed to be able to do at that height. And yet I feel like iHeart is the one that gets the eye-popping blocks more. Is that weird? That might be a crazy thing to say, but that's kind of how I feel. He had the one tonight that I'll remember. And it's not the first time this season. He's had a few. He's had a few really important ones. Thanks, Zach. Nick DeSimone with another one. For what it's worth, I'll take Donovan Mitchell on this team right now and figure out the defense later. He is special. Here, let's do. I know this wasn't your question, but how many scorers? No, I don't say scorers. How many offense? How many players do I think are better offensively in the league than Donovan Mitchell right now? But that's the problem. Is it's really the scoring. He's a great offensive player, but he's not as great an offensive player overall as he is a scorer. He is a ungodly gifted scorer. As an offensive player on the whole, the difference between him and the guys who are the MVP, the guys who could actually win MVP, be the best player on a championship team, no doubt about it type guys, is the overall playmaking is not there as much with, him as it is with a Luka. But as a scorer, how many scorers are better than Donovan Mitchell? I mean, I might need to have Andrew up here for this one, just as a sounding board. Is Tatum a better offensive player than Mitchell?
I would take Mitchell over Tatum.
Sorry, not offensive players.
Score. I know what you're saying. Score. I think Donovan Mitchell's able to generate offense more easily than Jason Tatum. There's a defensive side of the ball that I would put Tatum, and he rebounds more. That was the key thing I noticed in the playoffs when Tatum was getting off to these awful first halves against the Sixers. He was still filling the box sheet, the box score with he only went 1 for 10, but he had 9 rebounds and 6 assists in the first half, and then he would find a shot in the second half. So I would, as a pure scorer, I would go Mitchell, but
I agree with you.
Yeah.
The only guy in the East I see that's clearly above him is Dame.
As a pure scorer?
As a pure scorer, I think Dame's ahead of him. Embiid is the one that's
I was about to say, Embiid's averaging 30 a game as a center.
Man, they get their points in such different ways.
Yeah.
That's tough. I maybe put Embiid ahead of him. All right, let's put Embiid to the side for a second. Jokic, yes. Luka, yes. Steph, yes. So now we're up to Mitchell's 5th. We have 4 guys ahead of him.
Mm-hmm. Durant's a toss-up for me.
I'm looking at
OKC his career. Yeah,
I'm looking at OKC and I'm looking at Phoenix because now is SGA in this conversation?
Ooh,
as a scorer? No, I don't. I can't. Not yet.
Not a year away from being in that conversation.
Maybe we'll see. So Durant and Booker.
I would say Booker's a better scorer than Booker. I would say Mitchell's better a scorer than Mitchell. I think
who's
Booker.
Better?
I would take the better player is Booker. I think.
Who's the better scorer?
Mitchell.
You think Mitchell's better?
It's the same. It's a Tatum argument all over again.
I can't put Mitchell above Durant. I have too.
No, you don't do that yet. I do think that there is a conversation for where they are in their careers at the moment that Kevin Durant can't, but he can still shoot over anybody. That's the thing.
Kawhi has to pick his spots too much right now, even though when he puts his mind to it, I think he's I don't know. I don't know if there's a playoff scorer I'd rather have in the league other than maybe Jokic. Kawhi is fucking amazing. Zion is the only other guy that I'm looking at.
You're putting Jokic up there?
Oh, come on. Jokic is just because he doesn't do it as much as others because his passing, he's the best passer in the league, arguably.
But that's my point. Like, he generates offense in a different way. Like,
that dude, he's better.
I'm not saying he's a bad scorer. I'm just saying
better scorer than Donovan Mitchell, without question. There is no conversation. Zero conversation.
I think there is a conversation, but I know you don't want to have it.
I would politely disagree.
I think if he had Donovan Mitchell's scoring ability, we're talking about the greatest basketball player ever. Because he doesn't have a jump shot. Like
he does have a jump shot.
No.
He just doesn't pull it out as much.
Okay.
Just because he's not taking 10 or half a dozen step backs a game, because he doesn't need to, because he knows he could. There are more efficient ways for him to defeat another team.
I guess that's what I'm doing. In that, again, it's the better player. I think.
Well,
I think Mitchell will have.
I think we're arguing over semantics,
right? I think Mitchell will have better shooting splits and will score more points a game. But because of the other ways that Jokic can impact games, like it's not a question about like this. It's not a question about who is the better player.
Yeah, I know. I know.
You asked me to narrow it down. I'm a Carmelo Anthony stan. I know how to narrow down what's a better scorer or a better player.
I will put. Let's say he's a top 8 scorer in the league. Donovan Mitchell. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's pretty freaking good.
It's the other things he can't do, which I actually thought he played a pretty good defensive game tonight, especially in passing lanes. He got attacked a little bit on one-on-one, but he had a couple steals that led to pick sixes.
I still think there's a world where he could be a serviceable defender at the NBA level.
Serviceable, yeah, I agree.
All that being said, if Donovan Mitchell ever ended up on this team, would I be angry? No. Do I think that is we're at the point where we should be hoping for that as the outcome? I'm not there yet. Not there yet. As I have a piece of dark chocolate. Joshua focused. Last one. 4 games in, and we're top 10 in rebounds, 3-point percentage, and defensive rating. What?
Okay. Do you have a bottle of water or something nearby? Or
I have water and I have bourbon.
Okay. Your teeth are covered in chocolate, so
that's okay. It's good chocolate.
I'm sure it is. It's also not the greatest microphone etiquette to eat something before you go to speak
Halloween.
into it. Yes, it is. You're right. You just don't smile is all I'll ask.
Jaha, the question, which is the least sustainable? By the way, Knicks lead the league in highest percentage of points from threes. Oh, that's interesting. The least sustainable between top 10 in rebounds, 3-point percentage, and defensive rating. I think they're definitely going to be top 10 in rebounds all year. They're going to be top 5 in rebounds because they offensive rebound so well. So basically between 3-point percentage and defensive rating. I guess I'll say 3-point percentage is less sustainable. I know I said I don't see a top 10 defense here, but wouldn't shock me if they were 9th or 10th. It would surprise me. If they were top 10 in 3-point percentage at the end of the year, I would be shocked. Legitimately shocked. Robert Cross, is it fair and reasonable to say that RJ outplayed Dean Wade tonight? If so, will Fred Katz be okay? No, I think Fred Katz is irreparably damaged from that take and the subsequent poor play of Dean Wade. Thank you, Robert. Zach Lella, teams playing Brunson real tough so far. They are. Picking him up after crossing midcourt. Have to think it's affecting his 2-point shot making, working so much harder. It's a fantastic observation. You get the gold star of the night because it's just something that has happened that is I should have noted. I mean, he earned the league's respect last year. You know, sometimes, I mean, not to say that people didn't realize what he could do. You know, cue the Shaq meme, but now he's on everybody's radar, and now I think everybody knows very, very clearly, like, okay, what are we going to try to do against the Knicks tonight? Well, we'll try to take away Brunson, and then we'll figure out the rest later. But first, we're going to try to take away Brunson. Like, no one is going to let Brunson do what he did to teams regularly about last year. To what he did to teams regularly last year. They're not willingly, at least. Thanks, Zach. Appreciate you. Okay, Jason Devaney. Hey, Macri. Given Amare Stoudemire's comments on Black Lives Matter recently, I was wondering if you had any thoughts on Israel's relation to the Hamas attacks on October 7th. Man, you know, I am like probably not the right person to comment on anything that's going on right now. I know a lot of people are dying, which is just absolutely awful. And I know there's a lot of terrible shit going on in a part of the world that I frankly don't have nearly enough knowledge on to comment about. I know a lot of stuff that I hear makes me incredibly upset and very angry about why, like, human beings resort to the things that they resort to. And as far as like Amare and his comments on Black Lives Matter recently, I frankly don't even know what the comments are that you're referring to, so I can't comment on them. But I mean, Amare is very passionate. I know ever since he, he's, I believe he converted to Judaism, right? Some years ago. I don't think he's always been, but regardless, I mean, he's passionate, and when people are passionate about anything, they're going to express that passion. So again, I don't know what he said, but I always tend to try to err on the side of being open-minded and understanding about people who, react with passion to something. I hope that answered your question. Sorry. What? Andrew's looking at me.
Just well said for
Oh.
this question that was asked on a sports podcast. By the way,
yeah,
abortion. But no, I'm just kidding. Let's get to
Jesus.
the next question.
Robert Cross. Something tells me this is not going to be about any armed conflict, other than his attempt to, raise an insurrection on KFS. First time, long time, John. Some of these goons on Twitter are suggesting to start IQ and get Grimes more looks on the second unit. What say you? Hashtag 53 wins. Well, again, speaking of things that I know not about, what goons on Twitter are saying. I don't like. I said what I said already about IQ starting and how I think that would just, it doesn't make any sense to have four guys who like want the ball in their hands to be in the same lineup. Other than at the end of the game when you play your four best players, and you figure it out later. I don't think they should be in the starting five together. But like, fine, put Grimes on the second unit. When do the Knicks ever have or not have at least two of Brunson, Barrett, Quickly, Randle on the floor together? They always have at least two of those guys. That's how their rotation is built. It's how Thibs is doing the substitution patterns now. He's been leaving Randle in the longest of the starters, and then RJ will come in for Randle, and he'll run with the subs, and then the starters will gradually start to come back in. So, like, okay, Grimes is the fourth option on the starting unit. If he moved to the backup group, he would maybe raise the third option. I'm not sure the looks that he'd be getting would be as good. And you could even argue, like, there's Hartenstein takes up a little bit more. I don't know what his usage is compared to Mitch's usage, but like Hartenstein at least like tries to create some offense for himself. Mitch will never do that. So like that's an additional kind of like the point is the Knicks either as a team are at some point are going to take the initiative, make the effort, like do whatever phrase you want to use to get Quentin Grimes, whatever, 10, 11, 12, 13 shots a game, or they're not. It's not really up to him because he's not a guy that you're going to throw the ball to at the top of the key and say, okay, go run pick and roll and like create for yourself. That's not his skill set. His skill set predominantly is catch the ball on the wing and either shoot it or make the next play. If they don't get him the ball now, but also at the same time, some of this is on him, and Benji and DJ talked about this last night. Like the biggest takeaway I have is that there is no one to blame for this. Not on Grimes. It's not on Thibs. It's not on the organization. It is an unfortunate reality of a guy who, in a perfect world, you know what Quentin Grimes would be doing? Quentin Grimes in a perfect world right now would probably be playing for like, I don't want to say Washington, but like, I don't know. Not the Blazers. They have a lot of mouths to feed. That's a problem. Like you look around, like I'm thinking about like, okay, where's the team where if you slot Quentin Grimes on this team, Team X, he's getting a dozen shots a night and like good looks, in the kind of role that he has now. Where's that team? I don't really see it. There's a lot of fucking talent around the league right now. There's a lot of good shooting around the league. So that's what I mean. It's like the Knicks need to either decide like, hey, we're gonna make it a point to invest in this guy, and that I don't even know what that would mean. Would that mean like shortening the rotation, which obviously is not going to happen? They just signed DiVincenzo, the whole thing, but like, or do you just treat Quentin Grimes as like, hey, we got a really nice player here. He's gonna get shots on some nights. He's not gonna get shots on other nights. It is what it is. We believe in the player and we believe in his impact on our team, regardless of if he gets 5 shots or 15 shots. But we are not going to divert our larger grand plans to make sure that Quentin Grimes gets X number of shots a night. And frankly, I don't think that that's ridiculous. I'm a massive Quentin Grimes fan, but like you don't rejigger how you go about like building your team and building your offense for like a role player. And he's a role player. So I don't know. I think I got off on a tangent there somewhere. I don't even know if that was related to what you were asking, but I just kind of feel very strongly about like there's a lot of pearl clutching going on with Grimes right now, and I'm not sure I agree with it. Dan Hidalgo, it's a good feeling when your worst player is Dante. Yeah. It's a very good feeling. Robert Cross, I don't want Cat here. No way, no how, never. Hashtag 53 wins. Well, I mean, I don't want him here either. I don't. But like, this is tough for me, Robert, because like every time I talk about Embiid and how I'm all in on Embiid, you tell me how ridiculous I am and that I shouldn't be all in on Embiid and it, why am I wasting my time? And we have everything we need right here and this and that. Well, guess what? If Philly has a good season and Embiid is a, hunky-dory down in Philly, be careful what you wish for, because one thing I don't think Leon Rose is going to do is sit on his hands this summer. It's my not so bold prediction. Josso focused. Hashtag
Okay,
last one. Thank you. Pointing out RJ was a plus-minus leader before the last stint where he was out there with the bench, including Josh Hart. Also, starters at the end is included in weirdness. Okay, that's fine. It was a minute. As far as RJ's plus-minus, I will once again say that game-to-game plus-minus is the most useless stat on Earth. Plus-minus after 4 games is a pretty useless stat. Give me a 10-game sample size at least. All right? And then we could at least have a conversation. Sam Garcia's dad. What's going on, Sam Garcia's dad? How are you? Watch the game on and off. The Knicks didn't look like a well-oiled machine, but yet they were up by 15 or 20. I value every win, but much of tonight was Cleveland not being on. But how much of tonight was Cleveland not being on? That was what I opened the show with. They didn't hit a lot of threes, and they were missing some of their players. And watching them, it felt like watching an undermanned team. I mean, the thing that was going to drive me freaking nuts if the Knicks ever lost this game was the period in the second quarter where two undrafted rookies, I think they were undrafted, either that or like second round picks or something, like were taking turns making like significant scoring plays against us. It was Amani Bates is a different animal because that dude has a lot of talent, and there are other reasons why he, was not drafted where his talent originally said that he should have been drafted. But the other guy was a Porter Jr. or something. Like he was eating them. He had a move to the basket where he freaking dusted somebody or like faked him out or whatever. I was like, come on, guys, we're losing these freaking dudes. Anyway, I don't know how I got on that point, but anyway, Robert Cross, when you wish upon a star, it's your boy John. You won't have to go very far. Star J will come to you. Hashtag 53 wins. I believe that was Robert's attempt at a song lyric. Robert?
It was. When you wish upon a star.
Yeah, he wasn't getting me.
It's your boy John.
Don't quit your day job, Robert. Yes, Star J is here. I agree. But it's nice to have him. Jessica with another one. Shout out to KFS Patreon perks. An elegant prancing IQ glass arrived today. It's beautiful. Everyone should become a patron and join our KFS Discord. Okay, shameless plug. We do have a Patreon. There are a lot of perks that come with the Patreon. The mellow tier, which will cost you about a cup of coffee a month, the equivalent. A nice cup of coffee, but still a cup of coffee. You get a free an extra pod every week. Me and Andrew actually recorded a Harden pod today, so we're getting 2 pods this week, all of our mellow tier perks. And then if you're in our high echelon tiers, you get like free shit arrived to your doorstep every few months. This one was a custom made. That shout out to XJ, our graphic designer, in addition to being one of the casuals. What did I say?
Free shit. That's all. Just
free shit.
She just described it as an elegant prancing IQ glass, and
I said free shit.
Free shit.
Well, I'm the Goomba from Staten Island, so what do you want? You could lead a horse. You could take a horse away from water. What is it?
You can lead a horse to water. You can't show him how to drink. I think that's how it goes.
Or speak eloquently.
Regardless, to John's point, we have some very elegant shit that we would give to you if you're in the Ewing tier, which to Jessica, who is one of our Ewing tier patrons, it's an IQ designed thing. It's been going all around our Twitter lately. Anytime people have been getting them, our staff ones are getting here this week. So
I'm getting my thing.
You should be getting yours this week.
Sweet.
Yeah. With the patrons went first, and then we made sure the staff got them too.
That's great.
So, yeah. So sign up. The link's in the description of this video.
Thanks, Jessica. Always appreciate you. Rowan, big fan. Thank you. Excited for tomorrow's game. Last year, we had the worst home record of any playoff team. What is it about MSG? Hashtag go Knicks. Man, you're reminding me of the Bondi Benji like mini Twitter, not beef, but like, and I love Bondi and obviously I love Benji, but like Benji was always annoyed when Bondi would point out the Knicks' bad home record last year, like basically insinuating it was kind of more a result of randomness than anything else. I think it's as simple as like players really get up to play at MSG. That's all it is. Players get excited to play there, whereas they might not, when they're going into Orlando or Indiana or let's see, what other fan bases can I piss off?
Brooklyn.
Sure. Brooklyn. No, but it's not the same, right? It's not the same. There's something different about the bright lights of MSG. All due respect to the Barkley Center, which is a perfectly fine arena, but it's not MSG. That's the only thing I think. I mean, I wouldn't even be able to wager a guess as to what else it might be. Thanks, Rowan. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Got it right about an hour and a half. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Please like the video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you're listening on the KFS podcast feed later, please give a 5-star rating and review. One more. We should do a shout out at the top of tomorrow's show. That was a bad job by me. If you're still listening and you live in New York and you want to watch the game on Friday, come out Friday night to Penn 6, where we are doing a game watch. I will be there. A bunch of the KFS crew will be there. Again, the entry fee is $20, but you get a bunch of food with it. You're going to get more than $20 worth of food, so it's not like you're basically just paying to eat and watch the game with us. And there's drink specials and the whole thing. It should be fun. We're excited about it. Again, that's Friday, Penn 6. Game is at 7:30. Kick things off at 7 o'clock. And you can get tickets for that. There's a link in the description of this episode, Andrew.
Yes.
There we go. Okay. Giddy up. That's all. See everybody tomorrow night. Peace out.